Our session. As just noted, we will be recording today's session, so you will be able to review as needed down the line. We will be sharing this recording with all participants. And I think we can go ahead and pull up our PowerPoints and get going. All right. Wonderful. Well, welcome everyone to the launch of the next generation of PMI Project Management Ready from Certiport. We're really excited to show you what's new and exciting with the exam and learning materials on today's call. So here's a look at what we'll be covering today. First, we'll meet the fine folks who are joining us from Certiport, PMI, and our learning partners who will be your tour guides today. Then we'll take a closer look at the certification exam and what's new. Then we'll go through the learning materials that will be available for the next generation exam. And finally, we'll guide you through the logistics of the next generation release and how to get your hands on all the great things that we'll be seeing today. Finally, we'll have time for questions at the end. So feel free to submit questions in the Q&A section, and we'll kind of keep an eye on those and certainly do our best to get to those at the end. All right, so I'm pleased to welcome a number of fantastic presenters to today's call. We'll be hearing extensively from Ty Palmer, the product manager at Certiport, who's the mastermind of the development of the next generation. We'll also be hearing from Sylvia Rivera at PMI, and she's the product specialist who has been instrumental in the development of this certification. And then we have special guests from our learning partners joining us, including Heather Daniel from CCI Learning, Terrence Moore from Moore Solutions, and Quade Atkinson from G-Metrics. Welcome everyone, and thank you for being here. So now I'm actually going to hand it over to Sylvia, who is going to give us some insights about her perspective on the partnership with Certiport and development of the certification.
Thank you, Jenny. Welcome, everybody. I'm very excited that you are here today to learn a little bit more about PMI Project Management Ready. As it was just mentioned, I am the product owner for this program, and it is near and dear to my heart. At PMI, if you are unfamiliar with us, I want to let you know that we are the world's largest association for those who consider project, program, and portfolio management as part of their profession. We've spent the last 3 years in partnership with Certiport, which has been an awesome opportunity to grow this program with all of you. And PMI Project Management Ready really is the very first step in that career in project management. And so what you're noticing on the screen is a little bit of background information in terms of program overview. But again, this is the earliest cert that is available to folks, especially at that high school audience. And so we want them to know that really this is just the beginning of the journey. Our hope is that from learning more about project management from all of you, that they may continue on then and continue on this path through our other certifications and offerings that become available to them. Thank you very much again for being here today and for allowing me to join you. And I'd like to turn it over to Ty Palmer with some more information about the program.
Thank you, Sylvia and Jenny. So we are very excited to show off, I guess I would say, the exam updates. We call it the next generation of Project Management Ready. So some of you might have already taken the first version of Project Management Ready, and you might be coming back and saying, what's new? So that's what we're here to tell you today. The first version of the exam, while successful and while there was demand, had some room for improvement. And we solicited a lot of teacher feedback, customer feedback, and we did a lot of data gathering to find out what we can do to improve it. And so I'm really happy to share the work that we've all done behind the scenes that we can push out now, and I'll go into a little bit more detail. So before I jump into the exam specifics, I just want to call out how relevant project management is. I'm sure that a lot of you, if not all of you, have seen the need for project management in your careers, in your classroom, at home, everywhere, because project management is so relevant in today's world. I had a salesperson tell me one time that the computer science of the early 2000s, where you have a computer class and it was a course of its own, seems like it is transitioned to be a project management course where it's something that it's a buzzword that we use a lot, but in the future, project management will probably be incorporated in all of our classes as an essential skill. So on the screen, there's just a few key industries that you've all heard of and some projects that were made the news, that are notable, and just to kind of illustrate where you see project management. As Sylvia mentioned, Project Management Ready has its place at the foundational level. So this is where we're targeting entry-level jobs that have so many different names. Here are a few on here. You might see some overlap, but there are a lot of different titles that we give people for entry-level project management roles, such as a project coordinator, junior or assistant project manager, event planner, implementation manager, and so on. So there are a lot of different names, but these are a few that I'm sorry, I don't know why it keeps automatically transitioning. These are a few that we targeted as we wrote the Project Management Ready exam. And so we'll go into a little bit more detail about how that was created. So the exam updates that we put in this next generation version are centered around feedback. The first thing to note is advisory board feedback. And you might say, what's that? The advisory board are people that are key stakeholders in the industry, working professionals, hiring managers, sometimes politicians, and they provide crucial feedback onto what students need to know or people need to know to become proficient, or what would it take for them to hire somebody at one of those entry-level jobs listed on the previous slide. And so they gave us some of those requirements. And we also worked with teachers and they gave us some feedback. And then the subject matter experts we used were all teachers. They were people that are teaching mostly in high school, some in higher ed, and all of them had experience teaching project management. Some of them were project management professional certified, and all of them are very familiar with the concepts and could give a real good understanding about what can high school level students learn or entry level people learn versus what's a little bit too advanced. Vocabulary was a big thing we focused on this time. I think the first version had a lot of really important keywords and vocabulary, but some of it was a little bit out of the realm for high school students to understand. And so the vocabulary in the Project Management Ready Next Generation exam is a little bit more focused on that level, high school level and entry level words, because you don't want to go into an exam and say, let's talk about the burn down chart and how to do planned project management or some of the more complicated terminology in project management. We also want to make it clearer, differentiated from CAPM. So CAPM is a certification on its own and deserves a little bit more recognition and differentiation for people that have a little bit more than the foundational level of experience. Project Management Ready leads very well into that exam. And the first version was a little bit close in terms of what was tested and covered and some of the vocabulary. And so this new exam is a little bit more distinct in its own realm. And the other thing we focused on was just foundational project management skills. I've mentioned a couple examples, but instead of going into, and I'm going to go to my next slide, instead of students understanding things like roles and responsibilities of project team members, like a business analyst or the project sponsor, they understand how to interact with those people, but they focus on this exam on their own responsibility, their own authority level, and also a very big emphasis on ethical decision-making. A lot of our advisory board members and teachers felt like it was really important for students to understand their own control of their project and what decisions to make if there is something that they feel like is unethical, and what they can do about that. Another example I like to point out is in the previous version, we might have asked about how to use a Kanban board, which is a project planning tool. And in this new version, we would ask, how do you structure an adaptive or predictive project. So less specific on tools and techniques, more focused on overall methodology and which approach is appropriate for the project that you're working on. So a high-level version comparison. This is not an exhaustive list, but before and afters before was the Project Management Ready version 1 was designed by professional level SMEs. They were people that were the experts on project management. And after, we had our teachers design it. So it was more focused on what can entry-level people learn. And the first version, going to the second point, was focused a little bit on the PMBOK vocabulary, terms and tools. And the second version is based more on terminology, scenario-based questions. And we also have some detailed questions about Agile. Agile certainly is a part of this next generation version, but it's more at a foundational level. And students learn that Agile is one of the methodologies considered in adaptive project management. And we also have traditional project management, which a lot of people refer to as waterfall as well, but they're just scaled back to say, here's what the methodology is. Here are some examples. What would you do in a software development versus constructing a house? And there are two different approaches you would use there. We also had a few gaps between the courseware and the exam. And this next version, we have 3 fully mapped courses to the exam where they've taken a look at the objective domains. They've worked with our content creators to make sure that the content's on point. And so there are no holes between the courseware and the exam. And the last difference is the first version had a measure it practice test, which was a great product. It had a lot of good learning and solutions. Some customer feedback was to have a geometrics practice test for ease of integrating into their schools. And so we've incorporated that into the second version as well. So those are a high level look at the differences between version 1 and 2. So going into kind of the details of what is covered and what the exam looks like. It's a 50-minute exam. It's a standard for Certiport. We want to make sure that we fit into classrooms, that there are allotted periods that you have, and trying to get students in and out for testing. There are 40 items on the exam, and there are 2 forms, I should say that. So 40 items per form, and the order of those forms is randomized. So if you retake the test, you'll be taking the second form. It's a 1-semester exam, and that was a huge push for us to develop something that can fit into existing project management courses, but we know those are not very common in high school. Like I mentioned, it's the computer science of the 2000s. And so we want to develop something that can be fit into a construction course or a business course or computer science or wherever else project management is a fit, so that students can get their feet wet and understanding project management concepts and how it might relate to the field that they want to go into. The exam is a selected response, which means it's a multiple choice, drag and drop. I think there might be a couple of select all that apply, matching. So it's just there's no application or software that you're using like other Certiport exams that we have, what we call live in the app. So it's just box, selected response, multiple choice exam. And there's the 2 forms I mentioned. The questions are randomized, and the exam is developed to be an entry-level project management exam. While we built it around the needs of K-12, as there are a lot of our entry-level project managers, there are some people that might be exploring a transition into project management, and this is a fantastic place to start. So the course development, the great partners, CCI, MSI, Brain Buffet, we all gave the communication that don't develop the course to, how to plan prom, because there are a lot of professionals that would find project management appealing, but that have nowhere to start, and they're a little bit intimidated by going to something like the CAPM. So we focus on that entry-level project management term. And now I want to jump into what we call our next generation test drive. So I'm going to click on this link and go to our browser. We actually have 10 questions that are, again, we call our test drive, and it uses the Certiport Testing Center mock demo. So you can kind of get a feel for not only what questions to expect on the exam. These are not actual exam questions. They're kind of practice test sample questions. but you get a feel for what questions are asked, what it looks like in the look and feel. And so I want to walk through just a couple of those with you. So when you click Start Exam, you can see the exam process, the instructions. It's helpful to see what it looks like, but it's also helpful on testing day to avoid some of that. If you prepare your students or you prepare yourself and you get a feel for these instructions, so on exam day you're not so nervous and trying to scroll through things. With that said, it is a very intuitive process. There's not a lot that goes wrong in these environments, but I want to just click through a couple of these questions. So question 1, you'll see something that says, which term describes a series of phases that project passes through from its start to its completion? And that's kind of an example question that you get. So you'll go through here, and at the end, I won't go through all of the questions, but you can see summary. We'll go through questions you haven't answered. That's on the exam, obviously. Some tools, instructions. You'll see on here that we have color scheme for accessibility needs. And then at the end, when you click finish exam, obviously I'm going to do poorly. You have opportunity to leave feedback, and then it gives you a score report here. And it even breaks down into some sections to focus on to give you a little bit more feedback. So this is not made to replace our practice test product. It's really made to be a quick example of what you can see, what you can expect on the exam, and give you an idea of how to prepare your students, or a quick look and feel if you want to just get that and see if it might be right for you or your classroom. All right, so I've talked enough. I want to take the time to transition to our fantastic learning partners. We'll first hear from Heather at CCI, and Heather, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ty. Let me go ahead and share my screen. There we go. All right. Like I said, thank you very much. Some of the things that I just want to point out about CCI and our new learning platform, XEd, is number one, we focus on differentiated learning. So what that means is you can provide the course in multiple different ways. The students are able to learn through prescriptive learning. That way, if they take the benchmark, they know some answers to questions. They don't have to go back and revisit that. They can just focus on what they don't know. Also, you have flexible student grouping, so you're able to differentiate that way. We provide content in QuickBooks, eBooks, QuickDecks, and Quick Clips. And this really allows for differentiation in those different learning styles and how people like to consume the material. There we go. Okay. The other thing that we offer is multiple practice opportunities. So throughout the course, there are multiple times that they get to, number one, learn the task, and they get to be able to be hands-on while they're doing that. There is practice exercises, practice questions, objective assessments, and then even the create projects. So as you see, as the students are learning the material, they're able to get hands-on and practicing the information that they're learning right away. So let's go ahead and take a look at the learning platform so you can get a good idea. So number one, this is our online learning platform. Students are able to access it from anywhere, any device. When you come into the course, it is structured as unit, then lesson, and so that's what you can see right here. Throughout the units, everything is divided into lessons, and then there is unit assessments after each unit. Once they are in the lessons, each of the lessons is broken down into lesson topics. And like I said, students are able to get hands-on right away. Each lesson topic directly correlates with an exam objective. So once those students go into CertPREP, or if they take the certification and they get those certification reports and maybe they need to go back and remediate, they're able to go to that or navigate to that content right inside of our platform. That way it makes remediation quick, and they're able to find the resources that they need to be able to complete that. Like I said, each of the lessons are broken down into lesson topics, and inside of those lesson topics, they have tasks. So these are this is the interactive learning piece that they have. They can also go right into study materials. And like I said before, the study materials are available in ebook, Quick Deck, which is like a little flashcard based system, and then also a Quick Clip, which is a video based system. It doesn't matter how the students decide how to consume the material, all of the material is the same. The other thing with our materials is each read is about a 3-minute read, and we focus on maintaining about that 7th grade reading level to make sure that it's, you know, easy to read and easy to consume for all. At the end of each lesson, there are lesson exercises as well as assessments. The exercises are scenario based. So just like when they are in the exam and they're getting scenarios, they have scenarios that come in for each lesson as well. And then the question and answer based questions that bring in everything from that lesson. And then finally, at the end of the unit, they get unit assessments, which are also question-based. They have a create project, which is them taking a scenario and actually creating a end product, or end solution is probably a better way of putting that. And then there is also at the end of each unit, a scenario-based interactive piece that the students are able to use. So they get to pick and choose each of their scenarios, and they get a different outcome at the end. Of course, we have a large variety of instructor materials as well. You just navigate to that. We have a large variety of instructor materials to really help each of the instructors put this into their course. So inside of that materials, you're getting course syllabus, course overview, all of the key terms, lesson plans, additional unplugged activities. So there's just a wide range of instructor materials that come along with our course solutions. And then, of course, our solutions are really focusing on the collaboration with our learners, or with our learning partners, excuse me. So this is really bringing everybody together to go with that Learn, Practice, Certify. All right, thank you, Ty.
Yes, thank you so much, Heather. I appreciate it. Let me just transition now to Terrence. Terrence, do you want me to show the slide, or would you like to share your screen right now?
Actually, if you want to start off with the slide, and then I'll share my screen. Would that be okay? That
would be great. Yep. Let me just pull it back up here. Okay. So here's CCI. So take it away, Terrence. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hi, we're More Solutions. We develop courseware. We focus mainly on K-12 and higher ed. Our goal at MSI is to make sure our courses serve all 4 learning styles: audio learners, visual learners, reading and writing, and kinesthetic. For our hands-on users, which are most people, we do have videos strategically placed. We have knowledge checks, quizzes. We also include case studies to show how the information is applied in a real-world setting, projects and vocabulary flashcards. Our solution is a turnkey solution, so it generates all the grades you need for the entire grading period. Grades can be synced with your district or school grade book, also available on the Gmetrics platform. So if you're already using the Gmetrics platform, everything just folds in quite nicely. Gmetrics has done a great job and been a great partner as far as that goes. I'll go ahead and share my screen now and kind of show you some of the high points that I think are the high points of the course. This will stop. Yes. And share. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay,
so.
Great. Okay, so our courses are branded for your school or institution. We offer great customer support. And the way we scaffold our courses is we start off with an overview, like, you know, what's going to be taught in the course. We have a pre and post assessment at the beginning and end of each chapter. The topic pages are where the actual learning takes place. And we try to make sure every page of our courses has some kind of interactivity. We don't want students to, you know, check out, which is easy to happen. We show the domain mapping right at the beginning of each chapter. This is as much for us as it is for you. We want to make sure there's no gaps. So we show you the domain and subdomain that that particular chapter maps to. We also have an interactive glossary, which I think is a nice feature. Whereas if you're not sure about a term, you can just click on it and immediately get an answer. We have a read along feature that lives at the top of each
Today,
page.
there are many tools on the market that can help.
Okay, and we're right around that 7th, 8th grade reading level, which is kind of the sweet spot, as we say. And this is what I mean by interactivity on each page. So as you go down the page, you come across a knowledge check. And when you do these knowledge checks, you get immediate feedback. We have a variety of different ones, from drag and drops, fill in the blank. We just want to make sure that the, like I said, the student is doing some sort of interactivity on every page. The case studies we treat as an activity where the student reads a little bit about the topic. Then they have some questions that they answer. Again, at the end, they get immediate feedback, and we actually will assess them in the projects. So at the end of each chapter, there is a project. The project is broken up into 3 sections. We have a vocabulary section, the scenario questions, which were taken from the case studies, and the topic questions, which were taken from the reading. Okay, so I'll just show you the rigor of one of these projects. If I skip right to the end, it'll show me everything laid out. I go finished attempt. Okay, submit and finish. Okay, so as you can see with the entire project laid out, there's a lot of information here. And these are the assessments from the case studies that were in the chapter. So we really drill down. We want to make sure the student really has a good understanding of the information that's being communicated to them. This is a stakeholder matrix. So you get the idea. Lastly, we have a complete grade book. Like I said, that can the grades can be put right into your district grade book, which is nice. You don't have to create any extra activities for grades. So the student has a copy of their grade book, the teacher has a copy of all of the students' grades, and they can also view their participants. So we try to make the course as turnkey as possible. We have a heart for education, and you know, we enjoy putting this kind of stuff together. So thank you for listening.
Great, thank you, Terrence, so much. Let me take over the screen sharing again, and we'll turn it over to our friends at Gmetrics. Okay. All right, Quaid, would you like to take it from here?
I would love nothing more than to take it from here. Hi, my name is Quaid Atkinson. I'm the Director of Products for Gmetrics. We have been providing practice exams for Certiport's certifications for the past 12 years or so, and we're excited to continue that tradition for the PMR next generation exam. So we will be having new practice exams have already released, they're already available. We do have practice exams both for the previous version, if you have students or yourself who are continuing to prepare for that, as well as practice exams for the next generation test. If you'd like to get a demo, you'll be able to get one by request, or I believe there's a form at the end to get you access to the practice exams to check them out. And then later this year, we will also have both the XED and MSI courses that you just saw will be accessible through the Gmetrics platform. So you and your students don't have to jump between several different accounts to be able to access all your learning material. So with that, I will steal the screen and just give you a quick look at what the Gmetrics platform looks like. So the CertPREP practice exams are delivered through Gmetrics. When your students log in, they'll have a couple options. They'll come in here to take a new test. And from here, you'll see these PMR next generation products filed under the PMI category. From here, you'll have a couple test forms to choose from. Our tests are all offered in both what's called testing mode, which is kind of your standard test experience where student will have the same time limit, the same number of questions that are on the official exam. The format's very similar, and at the end they'll get a score report that kind of indicates a level of readiness with those concepts. We also have what's called training mode, where the student gets unlimited time to take the test. And there's also additional resources in here. There's this little help icon that will pop up a box here giving some context around the question and direction on how to answer it. Also, when answering the questions in training mode, you'll be given a response between each task on whether you got it right or not, and what the correct answer is. Students can save and resume their tests as needed. So if you have, break in class periods, or if they need to continue testing from home or something like that, they can come in here, see it either under their recent activities or their saved test section, and jump right back into those tests and continue working. Once you finish your test, you get a nice little score report here. I have a test that I conveniently completed earlier with a better, less terrible score than 0. So this is going to give them an overview of high-level score, a breakdown of topic proficiencies. You can also see every question on the practice test, expand this to see how you answered and get that same feedback. You can also see an objective breakdown that maps, all of our content maps directly to the exam objectives, so you can see how they did here. We've got a feature where they can go back and review specifically the questions that they missed on the test in training mode in case they want to. And we've also got our study guides, which are going to give you a statistics breakdown of how you are doing in the various objective areas. So I can see here what my strengths and weaknesses are. These are all based on your question pass rate through all of the test attempts that you've taken. You can come down here and view the full list of topic areas. Once those courses for CCI and MSI are included in here as well, you'll see some kind of links out to the course resources listed in this little pop-up. Your students can also come in here and launch either a quick review, which will throw together a number of questions. If you want to pick, say, 10 questions, and it'll prioritize questions that are in their weak areas, or they can come over into this view all questions table and either go view their question history. So I can see here that this is a question that I've gotten right, how many times I've taken it, percentage of times I've gotten question, leave notes for myself and whatnot. This is one that I've taken, but I've never gotten correct, so on and so forth. I can also from here pick specific questions or categories and launch a quick test in here. So this helps your students. It's a little bit more self-paced study if you've got students who are particularly adept at managing their own time or need a little bit something extra to do, or if you've got, say, a substitute and you need something to fill a day to send in, say, hey, students, go jump into your study guide and take some quick tests. And then obviously those courses will be available under the courses section when they're there. So yeah, that's the magic of the Gmetrics platform. And I'll let you have it back now, Ty.
Thank you, Quaid. I appreciate that. Thank you for the overview. Let me just jump back over to the PowerPoint. Okay, so now moving on, I will talk through some of the release and logistics of the new exam, and hopefully get you guys on some next steps if you want to try it out. So the learning timeline is as follows, and Quaid covered this a lot. Thank you again, Quaid. The CertPREP practice test for the PMI Project Management Ready exam is ready for both the current version and the next generation version. We have 100 questions available now, 50 more coming in a couple of weeks. Something to call out: to avoid confusion during the testing season, which we're in now, Gmetrics will not push out the access to the new exam to all students. It'll be available on licenses to teachers right now. And you can actually add it to the different access codes for students, but we didn't want to cause confusion with students taking the wrong version. And then in early July, we're going to overwrite the content. So basically what that means for practice tests is we'll just remove the first version and we'll only offer this next generation version from that point on. And at that point, we won't call it next generation. It's just going to take the name of PMI Project Management Ready. And course materials is very similar. So we actually have some demos available right now for the CCI Experience Ed platform that we can send out to you, and I'll give you some instructions on how to do that later. We also have the More Solutions demo that will be available by July, probably sometime in June. And one learning partner we weren't able to get on is Brain Buffet. They also have some courseware that's video-based, and they will have a demo available by July as well if you want to go that route. And just as the same with practice test, all the current content will be overwritten in July. And so you won't have confusion. We're just finishing out the testing year, and then next year you will start in the newest, latest, greatest version. And so when it comes to demoing the exam right now, again, to avoid confusion during the testing window for teachers on the call, we wanted to make it so there's one step to get the exam. It's not just published to all of your Certiport testing centers. And so there are instructions on how to download the new exam. They're not hard, but we wanted to make it intentional to avoid students taking the wrong version. One caveat with this rollout is you will need to use the Compass for Windows version. And so that doesn't support Macs or Chromebooks, but not to fear, if you are on a Mac or Chromebook, we actually have an exams from home option as well that our support team can walk you through if you still want to take the full length exam and don't have access to a Windows machine. In July, everything will be normal. We'll push it out to everybody. Mac and Chromebook users will have no problems accessing it, and it will be pushed out to testing centers so you don't have to go download it. So this is just for the demo access in the spring, again, to avoid confusion during testing window, but we want to be able to get you access if you want to see the full length exam. As far as the learning material goes, anyone who has the current PMI courseware for the version 1 and they have a license that goes through July, we will be automatically converting those to the newest version, either the CCI or the MSI version. We're still determining on that. And the same thing with the practice test. If you have a measure up practice test for the current version, you'll be, and the license runs through July, don't worry, we're going to take care of that as well and try and make it as smooth of a transition as possible so that you start the school year with that access to the latest and greatest version. Here's just a quick look on this getting started page that was referenced on the last slide. When you click on this link, they'll have some instructions on how to download the exam, and you open the menu and it will be a quick, 2 bullet points on how to find the next generation version and start testing that in your testing center. And we've covered a lot of different dates, and so I want to make sure that I am a little bit succinct. So what we have available now, we have the Compass for Windows, which is the full-length exam. We have the 10-question test drive that I previewed with you earlier. We also have the Gmetrics and CCI demos available. So I'll go over how you can get your hands on those demos if you'd like. By July, we'll have the MSI and Brain Buffet courses available for Project Management Ready Next Generation as well. And then what does it look like in July? Because we're talking about retiring this, so suddenly. Well, it will be pretty simple. We're going to have the same exam, all the courses that we've demoed, and the practice test. But after July, it will just be called Project Management Ready, PMI Project Management Ready, and won't have the next generation tag on the end. And then the old courseware practice test exam will just be removed from July, and everyone will be upgraded to the newest version. So the last thing to go over is, what's next? And Jenny or someone will paste these links into the chat if you want to start on these things right now. But essentially, we have 3 options here. So if you're on the call and you're a teacher and you want to purchase for the next school year, I saw a note about pricing. So pricing will depend on, what sector you're in, K-12, higher ed, business, and also how many you want to purchase, if it's a license or a voucher. There are a lot of different options. So that first link will give you a territory manager locator where you can submit information and they can provide you with access to see the test, and they can also give you a quote if you're interested on purchasing it for your school or class or district. If you want to purchase for yourself, we have a lot of people that are interested in, trying out the exam. We have the Certiport store link, which is the second one. Currently, there's only version 1 on the store right now. Version 2 should be added in a few weeks, and we can send out an email if you're interested. We have a form where you can get access to that. It's going to be discounted for a few months as a new promotion with a Learn, Practice, Certified bundle that will have the that will have the courseware, practice, and exam plus a retake for that as well. And then the last thing, some of you might be here for some prizes, which is great. We wanted to have a little bit of a celebration for this new release. It's taken so long, and we're really happy with the end result. And so the survey I have on here is a little bit of a catch-all for requests. So we will be giving out a $200 gift card, $100, and $50 gift card. So you have 3 chances to win. The survey link is the third one in here. There are just a few questions that are required that tells us who you are, what you're trying to find it for, and then a very easy kind of key points quiz to go through. And then at the end, you just ask, making sure that you can receive a gift card, because some schools have restrictions. And this last section down here is demo material. So if you've seen the presentation today, you want to get your hands on some of the materials that have been shown, just fill out this form, include your email, and then click what you want access to. We have a practice test, CCI courseware, MSI courseware, and Brain Buffet, though these last 2 will be available a little bit later. And we can send that out to you in the coming weeks, along with exam information and the slides. So you'll get everything here, and also, obviously have a chance to win some good gift cards. So that's all I have, Jenny. I'll turn it back over to you if you want to field any questions, and we can, wrap it up.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ty. That's great. So yes, we have a number of questions, and I will appreciate your assistance in responding to some of them. So our first question is whether we plan for the certification to be in Spanish for the Latin American community.
That's a great question. And the short answer is yes. We're still trying to determine our localization timeline. But we'd like to take this out definitely for Spanish, especially in the Americas, but also, for countries that are, speak Latin American Spanish is kind of the direction I'm targeting. So stay tuned for more information there. We're still trying to finalize some dates and deliverables, but yes, great question. We would like to make it available for Spanish speakers.
Great. The next question is with regards to the project management jobs and project management ready jobs that you'd had earlier in the presentation. The question is, would those jobs be available for those with a high school diploma or less? Is the certification enough for those types of jobs?
That's a really good question. And I would say it depends, which is like the worst answer to give, but it depends on the job requirement. Project Management Ready is a new exam. And so I think if you're familiar with project management, you'll know that the PMP, the project management professional, appears on a lot of jobs as a requirement or preferred skill. That's not necessarily the case yet for PMR. We hope to see it on some applications as a preferred or required skill, but it will just depend on what job you're applying for. This exam does not guarantee you a job. We'd be silly to say, you pass and all of a sudden you have all the hard skills and the soft skills to do the job, but it certainly is appealing to professionals and business owners and employers. PMI is a very well-known brand, and associating yourself with a well-known brand like PMI and having some verified, proctored certification skills that said, hey, I not only learned something, but I have a certificate to prove it. It means something more, and Certiport prides ourselves on proctored exams that aren't just, you get a badge for sitting through a class. You actually did a standardized test in a controlled environment. And one other thing I'll add on there, I'm kind of rambling, but we have a digital badge. So students who pass the exam, or I don't want to say students, individuals who pass, they'll receive the certificate that they can print out that has, PMI's name on it, their name, the date they passed. but there will also be a digital badge issued through Credly that you can share on your LinkedIn profile, Facebook, whatever social media outlet. And it stays on there as, it shows that you've completed or passed the PMI Project Management Ready exam. So not a clear answer on that, but hopefully it will help.
Perfect. Thanks, Ty. Okay, the next question is this exam appropriate for university enrolled students?
That is a good question. So as Sylvia mentioned from PMI before, PMI offers several different certifications, and one of those is CAPM, which is geared at a higher audience. So it depends on what you're using it for your class. PMR is a foundational level project management course that's really good for people that have little business experience or are transitioning to project management. But people who have a little bit of work experience or who have a course dedicated to project management in higher ed, the CAPM might be a better choice there. So it's hard to say a blanket statement on yes or no. It depends on what you're using it for, and it might be a better direction for CAPM. So our territory managers can help, and I know PMI has some resources on their website that can help direct students to the right exam.
Okay, perfect. So the next question is, and I'm not actually, this is an interesting question. I don't know if maybe we'll need to take the answer offline with our friends in sales, but the question is project management ready being offered or presented to local employment agencies that administer federal workforce grants?
If you want to give us names of who we should show it to, we'd be glad to. I don't know that it's being shown to them. I'm hoping that they'll take note of it, and if there are ways that we can help job seekers or employment specialists, certifications don't hurt anyone. They help your credibility, they show some expertise, but we don't currently have a partnership that I'm aware of with those agencies. So I don't know if I answered that question or not, Jenny. I might have got sidetracked.
Yeah, I think that no, I think the point is certainly it would be appropriate, and we are happy to help facilitate that if anyone has recommendations or contacts that they'd like us to reach out to.
Yep, well said, Jenny. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so this is going to be kind of course related. One of the questions is, an instructor sees the benefit of having this platform for a Project Management 1 class. Is there a benefit for that as opposed to a Project Management 2 class? She's planning on using it in Project Management 2. And
got it. Yeah. Again, Project Management 1, I think it fits. I don't know all of the course objectives. I know that they can vary from state to state. But generally, yeah, this is a good fit for Project Management 1. However, if Project Management 1, you're even more high level and foundational of what project management is, and then 2 is a little bit more focused on here's what a project manager's daily duties are, I could see it fitting there as well. But again, we are trying to focus this as like the first step. And if students are prepared, maybe Project Management 2 has the CAPM, that could be a fit too. So it would depend, but probably I would say Project Management 1 is where we're targeting this at.
okay, great. So the next question is, will resources be available for Project Management 2? I'm not sure if you've already sort of answered that with your previous answer.
Yeah, we don't have any specific resources for, Project Management 1 or 2. We kind of just say that's a foundational level exam. The CAPM exam, I say, is really the next step. It's a great fit. There's also the Agile Certified Practitioner that might be able to fit in there as well, another PMI exam. But it depends on what the course objectives are, how much time you have, and other outcomes. The CAPM certification does require a high school diploma, and so it might not be the best fit for high school audiences. But if you teach if you teach Project Management 2 at the last semester of senior year, students can take it, in the summertime once they have graduated and stuff. But yeah, that's the information I have. I know it's not a direct answer.
Okay, very good. All right, is a hard copy available of test questions and answers?
No, we won't provide that because it would interfere with exam integrity. So it's a controlled environment, like I say, which we pride ourselves on because, it's a lot harder, if not possible, to cheat in a proctored environment. And so we don't provide test answers and questions. If you want to get a feel for it, though, the test drive that we showed is a great place to get a feel for questions, which also shows you the correct answers. I think, maybe I'm misspeaking. It shows you answer choices and provides feedback. I'm not sure if that does, but the Gmetrics practice test will provide sample questions with feedback. So those two options would give you a good feel for the test.
Okay. Now I see we've gotten a number of questions on pricing, and for those questions, I would actually refer you to your Certiport representative because they're going to vary extensively based on the situation, and we just wouldn't be able to get into it on this call. So I did paste some directions into the chat about finding your Certiport representative. So again, for anyone who has questions about pricing, we're very happy to hear that, and we are happy to help you. But your Certiport representative is really the right person to be asking about that. All right, the next question is, when would it be available for Canada? Actually, Ty, I will just let you take. I'm not sure if that means English or perhaps French Canadian, but tell us about Canada, Ty.
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually don't know about Canada. It should be available soon, but we do have a partner in Canada that helps us to sell those. And so I think that we would need to coordinate with them, but it will be available for demo now, but for this next school year, I imagine it will be in Canada for sure. I don't know that we have like a certain date, but that might be a to be determined. But if you want to still request information through that link Jenny provided, it would be very easy. We would route it to our Canadian partners and we can coordinate exact dates for you as well.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Ty. The next question is, the exam is part of the course. You don't have to purchase the exam separately. Is that correct? Actually, well, Ty, I'll let you take that. I think I know the answer, but just in case I'm wrong, you go ahead.
Yeah, so they're all independent of each other. So the exam is developed by Certiport. We have our awesome learning partners, CCI, NSI, Brain Buffet, and others that develop the courseware. So the courses have some maybe practice questions along the way, some examples. Terrence showed a project that you could work on, and those are separate from the practice test. So our pathway is learn, practice, certify, and where that last part, Certiport, is. And so it's separate. You can buy just the exam if you want. You can buy just the learning with the exam, practice exam, just learning. You can have mix and match all you want. Or we have bundles that have learn, practice, certify as well. So, but they are independent of each other. It's not just one product for the whole pathway.
Great. The next question is, what are the steps to take in order to be able to proctor this exam? This would be a great opportunity for my PMI chapter to expand our education arm.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have a Certiport authorized testing center training to go through. It's very simple. It's not hard. And you go through some ethics questions, make sure that you're aware of, your responsibility as a proctor. And then you download the testing software, we call it Compass, and then you can set up and test. You purchase some exams through your territory manager. And then we have an awesome support team that if you ever get stuck, there's a number, there's a chat, there's an email, and they get on the phone and troubleshoot should you have any issues. But the first step would be to set up as a Certiport authorized testing center. I'm actually wondering, I can't paste in the chat right now, but we can send out information on that, or you can look up, Certiport.
I just dropped that into the chat, Ty. And
thank you, Hannah.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so then let's see. Next, if I have already PMR or Project Management Ready V1 certified, is it necessary for me to retake the V2 certification prior to teaching students?
That's a great question. The answer is no. So you don't need to retake it. congratulations for passing, by the way. You don't need to retake it at all. If you want to take the new version just to see what the differences are, you're welcome to. But your certification is still valid for version 1. And in fact, when we rename it in July, it's going to have the same name as your current version. It's going to be called PMI Project Management Ready.
Perfect. Okay. Next question is if the meeting is going, the recording is going to be shared, and we preemptively answered that one. Yes, we will definitely share this after our meeting today. The next question is the CAPM requires 15 PDUs. Does Project Management Ready require any PDUs?
Good question, and the answer is no. There are no prerequisites for Project Management Ready. It's kind of that gateway to understand project management fundamentals. So it is the starting point. No prerequisites other than, I think was mentioned the reading level is pretty much it.
Right, and I think a little bit of a further clarification is whether I think PDUs are once you earn your certification, you are able to keep it active by earning additional PDUs within a certain time frame. And is it a true statement, Ty, that no additional, once you've earned the Project Management Ready certification, you have it for life? You don't, there's no further upkeep needed?
Correct. Yeah. So it's for life. There will be a year on the badge. And so, 20 years down the road, it will say 2023. And so, employers will see that it's a 20-year-old certification. But there's no expiration date or PDUs to maintain the Project Management Ready exam or certification.
Very good. All right. Let's see. Do you recommend this course and exam as the first step of a project management field?
Yes. Yeah, I would. I think that it's a really good foundation course. Like I said, the subject matter experts that helped us write this, that's what we focused on. We said, what do people need to know as a foundational project management professional? And so this is really basics, most important things, and is a really good starting point into the field of project management. Or like I mentioned, in addition to any other field, we have a lot of engineering teachers, and even healthcare, and what was the other one? It's like traveling. I can't remember the name, but it's really everywhere. It fits as its own course or in anything else. But great question. It is the starting point, I would say.
Okay, great. All right, so another question is, if I pass the PM Ready certification and later I want to take the PMP or CAPA certification, will the PM education hours requirement be exempted?
It won't be exempted, and Sylvia, you can feel free to jump in. It's not determined yet if the Project Management Ready courses will go towards the learning requirements for CAPM or PMP, but it won't fulfill all of those for sure. It might provide some training, which to be determined. But Sylvia, do you have any other comment there?
Sure. So Ty, you're right. It has not yet been fully determined in terms of what that pathway will look like to branch from PM Ready to CAPM. It's kind of best to, as you said, Ty, understand that this is a foundational level. The easiest sort of description that I could kind of give you to think about this is that PM Ready is almost like a high school algebra, where CAPM is more like a college level algebra. And so one doesn't replace the other, but one certainly helps to prepare you for the next step. And so the CAPM is really at a higher cognitive level, where at this level, we are exposing you to the terminology and the language. And at the CAPM level, we're expecting you to be able to do more than just recognize it, but be able to apply it and to demonstrate it in certain situations and scenarios.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Sylvia.
Sure.
Okay, and then I am seeing a lot of questions about becoming a partner, or other areas where the exam will be available. And again, I think probably the best way to answer those questions, we will provide a link in our follow-up with more information on becoming a partner or reaching out to existing partners to learn more about the exam in your area. Okay, and then got a lot of questions. I love it. I'm so happy that people are so wonderfully engaged. But yeah, I'm kind of having a hard time keeping track at this point. Oh, and you know what? Actually, we're at time. So I will wrap it up on that note. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. Again, please anticipate an email coming from the Project Management Ready team at Certiport with all sorts of follow-up information for you. If we don't get your questions answered, you can always just reach out to us and we will point you in the right direction. But we're thrilled that you were able to join us. Thank you again for all the participants being here. Thank you to all of the presenters today. You did a fantastic job. And clearly, we've gotten a lot of excitement around this. So looking forward to being in touch with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.